Hi everybody, I'm David Vydra. Joined Guidewire Software about 6 months ago, and this talk is very much impromptu. I just decided to do it. So if you want to get in touch with me, the best way to find me is on testdriven.com. That's a website I run, and you can get my email off there. The topic of my talk is automated exploratory testing. And before we get going, first I want to get a show of hands of who here is a developer, and well, who's a developer versus a tester? Kind of get a show of hands. Okay, and who's a tester? Okay, all right. A little bit about my background. I got into kind of extreme programming and test-driven, I think in '98, so pretty early on, and been a big fan ever since. And one thing I noticed is that a lot of shops that do test-driven pretty much got rid of their QA department. So if you talk to Pivotal, to HashRocket, a lot of Ruby shops, they don't really have QA engineers. Guidewire is different. Our apps are huge, right? We build apps for insurance companies. If you have car insurance or home insurance, chances are you're running on our software. So these are huge enterprise apps. And in addition, each insurance company spends a year or two tailoring the app to their own needs. So we have our own programming language. It's kind of like Scala/Groovy compilation, our own IDE, our own UI framework, et cetera, et cetera. So these are huge apps. And so at Guidewire, we run a lot of tests, and the company started sort of with an agile mindset. So we have something like 50,000 automated tests. So that sounds great, right? Still, we found out that we had some bugs. And so originally, a lot of the QA engineers who were hired, their job was to write more, essentially Selenium tests, write more sort of end-to-end tests that go through the UI and automate. And still we had bugs. So we started looking around and started saying, okay, well, we need more exploratory testing. Exploratory testing is actually somebody using their head to figure out how to test the system instead of just automating the obvious cases. So we need to really be creative. And it has worked really well for us. So our quality has gone up since we changed the mission of the QA, basically to spend some time automating and some time doing exploratory testing. That's been a huge success. And what we want to do next is to explore this notion of automated exploratory testing. And if you're interested, please Google automated exploratory testing, and you'll find some interesting research topics. Essentially, there are some commercial tools like Editar, or Microsoft Research has a project called PAX, I don't know how to pronounce it, PAX, where they're trying to hit the system with massive amounts of inputs over some tests that are parameterized, and in some cases they even try to generate unit tests from scratch just based on your code to really stress the system and try a huge amount of data, of input variations. And the kinds of assertions you would write when you do automated exploratory testing are assertions that should hold true for any input. So a typical assertion is, you tell the system to do this, this, and that, and then you expect some specific result. So that's sort of an example-based assertion. An assertion for exploratory testing would be an invariant. You would test saying that for any kind of input, something must hold true about your system. So that's an area I'm interested in. I'm beginning to build out some tools internally, and if anybody is also in this area, I'm sort of looking for people to collaborate with, or just to get some feedback, et cetera, et cetera. So that's pretty much it.
I've actually heard of it as fast testing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've heard that it was also named fast testing.
Okay. Are you saying F-A-S-T?
F-U-C-C, right, fast testing.
Oh, fast testing, yeah. So so fast testing is one of the techniques, but it's pretty much completely random. We're looking for sort of the right combination of, so then the question is, well, what do test engineers do? Do we just, once we have these tools, do we just fire them and just run fast testers? No, because we need test engineers to reduce the input set to something manageable. So come up with heuristics, maybe write some analysis tools that will analyze the code and again produce some reduced set of inputs that is better than just a completely random test sample. But yeah, very good question. Yeah, and also we need test engineers to then also look at the results, to interpret them, because a lot of the time, the logs may contain something interesting, but the computer doesn't know if it's really interesting, if it's not interesting. Artificial intelligence just isn't there yet. So now, because these tests are kind of slow, because we go through the UI level, what I imagine is we'll be using large grids to run a lot of test inputs and then collect all the data. So maybe do an overnight run on probably as big a grid as we can get our hands on, and then collect all the data, and then maybe run some analysis to see if we manage to crash the system or corrupt the database or do something evil to the system by having this large amount of input data. Another question there. Say it again?
You said 50,000 test cases, right?
We have 50,000 test cases, yeah. So
how do you manage that?
How do we manage that? Some of them use Selenium. So a lot of our screens don't have a lot of JavaScript, so we also have kind of a faster runner that's not Selenium for some of those tests. Basically, again, we have our own language, we have our own testing framework, and it translates into Selenium. But a lot of the tests we also run actually without the browser, because we have a browser simulator that pretty much does whatever we need. We wrote our own. We have like a 200 node grid to run tests. We wrote our own continuous integration server and analysis tools. It's that kind of a company, like written a lot of tools. So
You're in the insurance
Right.
line of business. Any special appeal with your development with the insurance industry, or?
I don't think there's anything special except if your insurance is messed up, it's not going to be nice. So we're going to get a phone call. So yeah, so basically it's these are very important systems that we have to debug very thoroughly. There's a lot of money involved and a lot of users. So yeah, the quality that we're after is very high.